Many Americans are thinking about their faith this week thanks to the Pope's visit to the United States. In her first television interview here in the desert, Catholic convert Anne Rice sat down with News Channel 3 anchor Melanie Hebert about her quitting vampires and turning now to Christianity. Melanie.
John, after living decades of a very public atheistic life, best-selling novelist Anne Rice is taking an active role now in the Catholic Church. She now admires the teachings of Pope Benedict XVI as she devotes her own writings to the life of Jesus Christ. While some of her longtime readers support her transition, other baffled vampire fans want to know why.
This is the first page of Interview with a Vampire, my first novel.
She's famous for her Gothic novels, inspiring major films like Interview with the Vampire. For 38 years, Anne Rice was known as an atheist. But the spiritual quest for knowledge that guided her atheist life for decades also brought her back home, as she calls it, to the Catholic Church, in which she now devotes all of her writings.
You know, most of the emails I get are from people who say, when I saw your book, Christ the Lord, I was shocked. I thought you were the vampire lady.
It might be a surprise to her vampire readers, but Anne Rice grew up with a strong Catholic faith as part of her everyday life.
It shaped our family's existence. I mean, we were Catholics who went to Mass and communion every morning, usually.
Anne grew up in New Orleans, a city of deep-rooted Catholic history. She never questioned her faith, she claims, until she was 18 and went off to college in Texas.
I wanted to know all about what the modern world offered. And I made the mistake of thinking that I had to leave my church in order to do that. And I stopped talking to God, and I went off really pursuing an atheistic existence, believing that that was facing reality.
Anne rebelled against the church, writing sensuous stories of vampires that sold nearly 100 million copies. She was married for 41 years to Stan Rice, who died an atheist, but not before remarrying Anne at her request in the church.
I just walked into the bedroom and said, I've returned to the Catholic Church. It's now required that we marry in the church. Would you be willing to do that? And he thought for a moment, and he said yes.
Looking back, Anne claims she always did feel a grief for her lost religion, and that her vampire chronicles reveal her search to fill that void.
And the older I got, the more arrogant it seemed to simply state that the world had just come from nothing and that there was no meaning. And I guess I felt I was more an agnostic, somebody who couldn't affirm the belief in God.
When she began researching answers to her questions, she says she found that believers have a much stronger argument than skeptics.
They've raised questions, and then we've had to find the answers. But I was amazed at how flimsy the scholarship was and how unconvincing. And I was much more persuaded by the believers, and I didn't expect that to be the case. I didn't know.
Today, Anne continues her constant research, mainly in her Rancho Mirage home filled with her collections.
Books, statues, and dolls, really. A great deal of this is books about Christianity and about the early church and about the gospel.
And her son Christopher, who lives in West Hollywood, visits often. He's also a novelist and a gay activist.
I have hopes and dreams that we will become more tolerant of gay people as we find out more about them. I mean, the church right now is preaching compassion to gay people. That is a beautiful thing, and that is certainly better than what they were preaching maybe 50 years ago when they didn't even want to talk about it.
Anne also has a vision for the Catholic Church that will one day allow women's ordination. But in the meantime, she's focused on today and the teachings of Pope Benedict, while the world leader of her Catholic faith is in her country uniting believers.
Peace be with you.
There are always things that divide us. There are always issues that divide us as Catholics and as Christians. I think when we see him, we are inclined to think about what we have in common, what we all share, and why it's a joyful moment to see him come to our country.
At the request of many of her readers, Anne just finished a memoir about her personal journey of faith. It's set to be released in October. And to put that rumor to rest, she has decided not to write a final novel for the Vampire Chronicles. She says that chapter of her life is over. You can read our complete interview with Anne Rice by logging on to our website at KESQ.com. Melanie Hebert, KESQ, News Channel 3.